All right, welcome into this week at Gridiron Icon, the podcast. And let me just say right now, we have a true icon and a legend in store for our guests here. First, a quick welcome into my better half and partner in crime, Mr. Preston Denard. How are we?
My friend, I am good. Today's decor is my African American Golf Association hat. I wonder how many people have one of these. They probably don't, but I got one. Okay. My dear friend I played with in Buffalo, Dwight Wright, gave me this and was part of the organization, and he's a hell of a golfer. Lionel was too, but we're going to talk a little bit about it.
So let's talk about Lionel, and we'll come back around. Welcome to the wide receiver room at Gridiron Icon once again. And again, a special one tonight. Our guest tonight played primarily for the Denver Broncos of the AFL, where he led the league in receptions 5 of the 6 years the league existed, and was the third wide receiver to reach 500 receptions in pro football history. He moved on to coach some of the best players to play the game. We're talking Super Bowls, some of the biggest names at the wide receiver and tight end position. But enough about me and me yabbering on. Let's get to the iconic Lionel Taylor. Welcome in.
Yeah, there's that round of applause.
There you go.
What's up, Coach LT? All right, rock and roll.
Oh, now Stacey, you call me Coach.
Well, we're live. We're on air.
I think we need a little bit of background here, folks, for those that may be watching on YouTube or listening in. Preston and Lionel Taylor, of course, was a dynamic, one of the best wide receivers in the game. Went on to coach my co-host and friend, Mr. Preston Denard. So this one's a warm and fuzzy episode.
Oh, it's warm and fuzzy, and you know, you take half-heartedly everything Mr. Taylor's getting ready to tell you, but he knows the truth.
We're gonna get some stories.
You see these wrinkles? That's part of the reason, right there.
Number 88, huh?
Yeah,
that was
definitely number 88.
All right, okay, Stacey, he's gonna make me have to throw it out. Okay, Lionel. Throwing out the first question. It ain't even scripted. What was tell the story you told me the first time you saw me coming up in the camp?
Well, the first thing I saw you with that little red car. I couldn't believe it.
Datsun 1200, 1972.
The little red raggedy car. We go practice, come out, work on the car, come back and practice again. I said, this man is going to
Oh, my.
That's what happened when they don't draft you.
Little UDFA rolls up in the parking lot, huh, Coach?
I'm in the same boat then now. We both in that boat together. I tell you, I couldn't believe it. Hot as it was, he's out there in that car.
Got to keep it rolling. Got to keep
Preston
it rolling.
had a day. Preston had a day that was Thursday. We call it show day. I told him, I said, show day now on Thursday, because the owner came up and the general manager in the Hollywood style. They had the little seats out there with director and all that on them and watching. I said, Preston, you gotta put it on today. And I got news for you. He surprised me.
Surprised.
Really? In a good way, Coach?
Hey, in a good way. Well, he took him to the cleaners, especially when we got the yard line. It was dangerous then.
Oh yeah, love inside.
If his hands was half as good as his feet, he'd still be playing.
Okay, enough about me.
Okay, Mr. A little insight into number 88.
Let's get into this man.
Okay, Coach. We gotta go back before you were a coach, before you were an incredible player. These snapshots for those watching on our YouTube channel of our guest. Doing what Odell Beckham just copies now, one-handing it in traffic. Coach, we want to take you all the way back to when you were a kid. How did you fall in love with football? We know you come to us from the beautiful state of Missouri, but how did you fall in love with sports?
I fell in love with sports. I had nothing else to do, and I was the only child. And I got news for you. I caught heck in the community there by myself. I got beat up every day. But I think I fell in love with basketball, not football. I hate to tell you that. I'm a basketball fan. Preston knows that.
Oh yeah.
It's a theme on this show, Coach. I mean, each of the NFL guys that we've had on here, coaching and players, have all started loving the game through another sport. We get a lot of baseball guys, and we've got a few hoop guys. Nolan Cromwell came on here and said he was a basketball guy. So you fell in love with basketball, which explains some of the iconic shots of you one-handing the ball at a high point. Tell us about that.
Well, I got news for you. You know, a lot of times they tell you catch the ball with two hands, catch the ball with two hands, but you can reach further with one hand. When you go to reach the ball with two hands, you lose a lot of height and a lot of control. And so you can go up with one hand and just very softly, don't fight it. You just kind of let the ball come in, you take it in. And it only hurts half as much if you catch the ball. Remember that. They can knock your head off. If you catch it, man, you get up smiling. If you drop one, the fans will tell you where you stand because they say, "Ooh," and you better hustle back to the huddle. I always hustle back. I didn't want them to see me. I get back in the huddle. I said, "Don't throw it to me. I can't catch it." I used to tell the quarterback. I knew he had to throw it to me, but I would tell him that, and he would come back and tell me, Frank DePuca. You guys would never remember him, but he would always tell me, "Lionel, you gotta want it." Throw it 7 feet over my head, and he come back to the huddle. He look at me and say, "You gotta want it." And football was belonged to me. I think Pressfield the same way. Once a good receiver, when that ball's in the air, it belongs to him. He don't see anybody, don't feel anybody. You take it and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Wise words. Yes. So you started out loving basketball. What happened to your hoops career as a kid?
It didn't last that long. I got news for you. My football career in the 9th grade, I went out for football and the guy hit me and knocked me in a puddle of water and I went across it like a boat. I didn't come back for another year.
Really?
And I was a center, man. I think I could have been in the Hall of Fame as a center in football. The only thing I had one problem. I couldn't block, couldn't tackle, and I was gutless.
Gutless.
Coach, this is setting back that whole wide receivers are diva thing.
That is not what I knew of him. That's for sure.
Are we getting a little humility here, Preston?
Oh, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, the story goes. Keep going, Coach.
I can tell you this. I did not mind hitting people, getting hit, but I hated to tackle or do that. I don't mind blocking. What little blocking I did. But I just they can hit me all day, but I didn't want to play defense at all, none whatsoever. So that's the reason I was playing offense, because if I didn't, coach would put me out there on that defense, and we was in trouble. I asked my high school coach, I says, "Tell me, who was the best football player you ever had in high school?" He said, "Well, I can tell you the worst defensive player was you." Have you ever been playing, get run over by the same running back on the same play?
Wow.
When I was a senior, a guy by the name of Curtin went around the left end. I was playing in those days, whatever position you play, they give you that name. And he ran over me. Well, I wasn't in a hurry to get up, and he reversed the field and ran over me again. That's the truth. That's on one play. He ran over me.
I've never heard that story.
My defensive career.
That's so fascinating, because everybody has this in their head that football players, they just love all forms of contact. Yeah. But it's just not true. Some guys don't like to come down and be thumpers on defense.
No. Because some defensive backs, if they're good ones, they bring it to you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You can both speak to that, right? So.
Oh, yeah. Like go across the middle. Preston, I tell you, he would go across the middle. Hey, he's going to get hit anyway. Why not catch the ball?
Yeah.
You know, alligator arms, that don't matter to a good defensive back. I always felt this way. I'm going to get hit on every play. They throw, if I catch it or not, so why not catch the ball? Mm-hmm. They're going to hit you. Good one's going to hit you. And that's a free shot,
Mm-hmm.
Coach, your list of, I mean, this is so interesting, and I don't know if this is humility or being shy on camera or what, but you have records that haven't been broke. They're as long as my leg. In how many balls you've caught and how many yards you caught in multiple leagues with multiple teams. You're telling us that you didn't mind getting popped, but you didn't like to do the popping.
No.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
You want the truth? That's
Please.
The truth. You put me in that. You put me on that defense, boy. I got news for you. I put that headgear on. I don't even need a headgear to play defense because I get out of the way.
I love it.
Oh my God.
This is so inspiring for young kids who may not like the contact piece of it. So then, I mean, we'll get into your coaching career, but I find that interesting that you meet a guy like Preston and guys that came after him. And there had to be other guys that just didn't love the contact, and you could relate to that and coach around it.
Well, it's coaching. You got to be together. In other words, coaching to me is Preston. I had Preston. Preston knew one thing: we got to work, and we worked. But it's business, definitely business. And once you get to know each other and spend time with each other, it gets better and better. Preston didn't want to drop a ball, Preston, and he didn't want to make me look bad. And I sure didn't want Preston to go out there and look bad. And we worked. You got to work. Now, I tell you that. I had three receivers that I know: Preston Denard, John Stallworth, and Drew Hill.
Oh.
I can truthfully, I say this: I never seen them take a play off in practice or else. And I tell you, that's hard because I took a few off.
That's a high compliment, number 88.
Yeah, it is.
I see that. I see that smile. Yeah, that is a huge compliment.
I can't lie.
You'd be amazed that I can recollect now. Tell you about Ron Shanklin, his strong points, what I thought was his weak point. What Stallworth was, what Swan, what Preston's was, Drew Hill, Billy Waddy, all those guys. Right now, I can just call them in my mind and tell you what the strong suit.
I can't so you've still got that locked in the vault. Each of those guys forward and back. I mean, Billy Waddy changed Rams history with that catch against Dallas. I mean, I was like,
and he made a catch that was a tough catch. He made it down here on the well. Once he catch it, he wasn't gonna catch it. We knew that.
Yeah. Unbelievable, Coach. So I got, as usual, we're all over the board. We get excited here. But just going back to when you were a kid, you like basketball, you move on to football, you move on from center to become an unbelievable wide receiver. Were you recruited out of high school to go to New Mexico Highlands?
Oh, yeah. They had an all-star game that year. And Coach walked over to me. And when I was recruited, you didn't have anybody putting their arms around you and putting jerseys on you and telling you what you're going to do. The game was over. Coach walked to me. Lou Gibson walked over and says, "Look here, you want to go to New Mexico Highlands and this and that?" And I was listening to him. So he wrote his address and his name on a piece of paper and gave it to me.
Wow.
Well, when he turned his head, I threw the paper away.
Did you really?
I went to West Virginia State for a semester.
Oh.
I got to get out of here. So I remember his name, Lou Gibson, Stocco, West Virginia, Stocco, West Virginia, General Delivery. And I wrote him a letter from that one time looking at that.
Wow.
And he called his brother. His brother was the head coach at New Mexico Highlands, Don Gibson. And the president of the college was Thomas Donnelly, and he was the president of the university at that time. So he says, "Well, you want to go to Highlands?" I said, "Yeah, I got to get away from home." So I took off to Highlands, got there with $36, with $13 in my pocket. If I'd have had $40, I'd have went back home.
You got homesick, huh? You got there.
Homesick. You had been in Las Vegas, New Mexico in 1954.
Unbelievable. And then you end up playing 3 sports at New Mexico, right? Football, basketball, and you ran track.
I track. I didn't run it. My speed was so cool, I was.
Got it.
He was smooth. He was smooth.
Yeah, you go. I ran the what was it? I ran the 220, and they was pinning the medal on me. First place. He didn't realize I was coming in last in the first race. They thought I was coming in first in the second race.
And the sense of humor is on display.
He's just warming up, let me tell you.
So unbelievable. That's got to be a culture shock for a young guy in his early 20s. You're going from Missouri to Virginia, then back over to New Mexico, where you still have ties with this guy on screen with us here. What was your college experience like?
It was great. Fantastic.
He was a star.
It was fantastic.
Tell them some of your players, your teammates you played with that came out of there.
Well, the greatest teammate I played with was Charlie Cowan.
Charlie Cowan. Yep.
Wow.
We went to high school together. And came out to New Mexico, and we coached together. Mm-hmm. And Charlie, to me, was the best. And we had, and Highlands had some pretty good players, Carl Garrett, Don Woods, and both of those guys made Rookie of the Year. Mm-hmm. Don Woods, they give it to him for being at the University of New Mexico, but he spent his 3 years in Highlands. In the last year, Highlands dropped football, so he went to the University of New Mexico, and then he was drafted by San Diego.
Now he came as a quarterback, right, to New Mexico.
I didn't know. I was amazed.
Yeah. He came as a quarterback.
I'll be down.
And they switched him in the pros to run. They drafted him as a running back to Green Bay.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now you want to talk the shock of my life? I get to Raton, New Mexico about 2 or 3 in the morning.
Oh.
And the guy tells me, I said, "We're talking about football." He said, "Oh yeah, New Mexico Highland plays single wing." I said, "What?" That's a man's game. I mean, I said, "Wait a minute. I came out here to catch the ball. I didn't come out here to block anybody." And I was shocked. If I'd have had $40, I'd have went home right then. I'd have left. But it worked out great,
Unbelievable. So it was mostly a run-oriented offense, which it seems like football was back then.
Yeah.
Wow. And you put up enough numbers to then at least catch somebody's eye as a free agent in the AFL. We got to move into that Denver Broncos period because it is so iconic.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And a lot of people listening will obviously love to hear from you. So how did you pull that off? You're in New Mexico. You're like, and you end up going into the AFL.
Well, what happened is I went by the Bears. They sent me, I got my little information from the Bears. Man, I was so happy. It was a postcard. And you fill that postcard on one side and it already had a stamp on the other side, and you mail it in. And I said, "Look at here." So I went to the Bears, and I had a good stay. I lasted about 2.5 weeks. So I went to Bakersfield, California, playing semi-pro ball. And Dean Griffin, who was the first general manager of the Denver Broncos, he saw me. He had this team with Tucson Rattlers was his team. They had a good team. And I was playing for Bakersfield. I had a pretty fair day. I went up and got one at the crossbar with one hand. And so I saw him. He talked to me about Canada. Well, he said, I want to go. I was so happy I wanted to get a job. He said, "No, the Canadian league starts totally different. It was finished." So I went back to the Bears, and I played for the Bears. And then the next year, they put me on waivers, and Griffin became general manager of the Denver Broncos. That's how I got the Denver. He called me, and I was in my apartment there in Chicago. And he says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm getting ready to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. This exhibition." He said, "You've been put on waivers." In those days, they could do that. I'm serious. That's where I found out.
Did you?
What?
Yeah, I found out what?
The NFL.
You found out from a friend on the Denver Broncos that you were no longer a Bear.
Yeah, he was. So anyway, I called George Hallis. He had kept me the year before anyway. So he said, "I'm gonna keep you, but you have to be on the waiver. You have to be on a 10-day waiting list. Once they put you on waivers, then you couldn't play for 2 games." So I was bluffing. And then he finally offered me $1,000 raise. I said, "Ooh, man, that was big money." And I still tried to bluff my way through. And then finally he says, "Well, you go home and see your wife." Well, I had a ticket for the Broncos out in the car. And I had J.C. Caroline, that name was my roommate. And he took me to the airport. I never let Hallis knew that J.C. had my clothes in the car. And I went to Plainsville, New Jersey. And I never looked back. Saw Hallis 20-some years later, and he says, "Been a long time, my boy." I said, "Yeah, it's been a real long time." But that's where I got the Broncos. That show you how lucky us. Dean Griffin got the job as general manager.
Yeah.
And by being in Canada, our team was made of basically Canadian football players, Americans and everybody, but it was basically people from Canada. And Frank Tripucka, our quarterback, came down as a coach. He ended up the best player. He ended up playing.
Really?
He's supposed to be a
Unbelievable.
coach. Yeah.
Wow. And listen, it has to be after all that, which just tells you how much the league has changed as they travel around on their own Learjets now.
Well,
Coach,
see, excuse me.
no, please go ahead.
My thinking was, I'm gonna go and jump in this league. I'm gonna make a name for myself. And I'm gonna come back to the National Football League and make a little money. Well, I never came back. Yeah, but I did. First game, I hadn't seen Frank Tripucka, and we practiced in Bear Mountain, New York, and he had his business in New Jersey. So he showed up the night of the game. I never practiced with him. I'm in the huddle. The first series, I didn't start. They put me in, and I didn't know if they knew terminology. You know, I was with the Bears. They had good terminology and everything. These guys had little books with scratches on the plays and things like that. And so, I was in the huddle, and I said, "Hey, you." And I said, "I didn't know if you knew what a post pattern was." And I said, "I can go down and in." And he looked at me, didn't say nothing. Serious change. We sit on the bench. He didn't say anything. I said, "Well, get back. We get the ball back." He looked over at me and says, "Can you run that post?" What? You know that? I hit it for a post for a touchdown.
Wow.
And then the last seconds of the game, they blocked the punt and beat us.
Wow.
Unbelievable. And I'll tell you something, for the youngsters out there listening in on the show tonight, this gentleman right here is the very first player in professional football history to catch 100 passes in a season. And I have to say this, it was in 14 games.
Yeah. He might have been a little good back then those days.
He might have been something else. He's being humble here.
He is. Tell the story, Lionel. Come on.
That's the worst. I tell you, I was talking to somebody the other day and they didn't believe me. I think it's the worst season I had.
Unreal.
Wow, really?
Unreal.
I tell you why.
Why would you
I
say
scored
that?
4 touchdowns.
Well,
They didn't throw the ball. You know, the guys catch 2-yard passes, 3-yard passes. Preston tell you very seldom you got to throw that ball when you get down in the 10-yard line, you know.
right.
And the year before now, I thought they had a good year. I set the record the first year. Nobody talks about the first year. I caught 92 passes the first year.
Mm-hmm.
I looked into that.
Mm-hmm.
Now you average you average high numbers each year, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You own several records for the most receptions in consecutive years in professional football history.
A lot of people don't know that. Yeah.
As a guy who wanted to be a wide receiver and couldn't run, I know all about you guys. This is.
Well, you're talking about me, aren't you?
I'm talking about you.
Well. Yeah, you talking about me. Okay, go ahead on. You can talk about me.
Well, I'll tell you, Coach, by extension, I mean, the guy who I call friend now, I pretty much idolized as a kid. So, you had an impact on him. So I'm gonna loop myself in there. But tell us about the Denver Broncos in the AFL. Like, what was that experience like for you as a young guy? Is there anything that stands out from that time period for you?
Well, I got in the league through the football. That made me happy. And I was glad to, you understand? To me, I know I'm sure Preston, I don't want to say things that Preston may not believe, but I believe this. Sunday was show day to me. That was time to work. And I always felt that way. And I wanted to go on the field. And when the game was over, win or lose or whatever happened, I wanted the people to say, Lionel didn't loaf. That's what I wanted to say. When I walked off the field, I wanted to say, he gave his all. That was to me. That meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
Standards.
No, good stuff.
Wow. Was there a teammate or coach that really impacted you during your time with the Broncos? I mean, again, for anyone listening, they know you're in the Ring of Honor. Everybody knows who LT is, not Lawrence Taylor, this LT.
I'm the first to get that.
You were the first.
You're the first LT.
I'm the original. I'm the original.
Who's that other guy? That other guy played defense, doesn't count. Was there something that really stands out to you that's special during your time with the Broncos? All the records and all the stuff that happened?
I I had a guy, Max Speedy. I don't know you won't know that name for the Cleveland Browns way back, all pro, and he was my receiver coach. And I never forget was working out, and my shoes didn't fit my feet, and he took his shoes off and gave them to me on the field. And he was one of the, like we work Preston, we were running one-on-one, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he was that type of guy, that did those things, which was unbelievable, for the guys that do things like that. And that stuck out to me and made me feel how a player really feel. And you never, one thing you can't do, you can't coach the way you played. Mm-hmm. I couldn't coach Preston the way we played. He wouldn't be there 30 minutes. He'd be out of camp.
Really?
I'd go for Lynn Swan. I'd go for Starworth, Frank Lewis. I can't. I tell him right now, I will not coach you. I cannot. I can't. I tell him right off. I can't. It's something else I would do. We'd be in a meeting. I don't know if I ever had to do that with Preston, but in those days, you had free agents. You could just sign a bunch of guys, and we'd be in the room. There'd be 12 guys in my room with wide receiver stuff. And I tell them, I say, we got 6 jobs. Mm-hmm. 6 jobs. I said, so don't be wanting one of the guy to drop the ball and all that. I said, we stick together. You work good. If you don't make it here, somebody will pick you up and give you another try. And I said, let me say something. It's business. It's business. If we become friends, that's great. But it's strictly business. And I was told him, I said, look, on the totem pole, there's the owner's number 1, the general manager is number 2, the head coach is number 3. I said, I'm number 4 on that list. I'll fight for you. I want you to know where I line up, though.
Where I line up, yeah, that's true.
That's right.
Stacey, I got to tell you, a reflection on my career under Lionel's tutelage was unique because I also was a free agent, thinking I was going to get drafted. That didn't happen. Next thing I know, I'm on a plane to go to LA to sign a contract. So first time I meet Lionel, this is the first time I'm telling him this too. He was imposing because of who he is, his confidence, his willing you to do your best. And he talked to you that way. He didn't baby you. He didn't, he wasn't there for that. And like he says, it was all business. And I remember a couple of things that stood out for me. The one thing was I had quick feet, and I knew he was a true coach because he recognized that. That's what stood out to him. And so I would always lead the team in the ropes. And what were they, about a foot high off the ground or something? Not those ladders they do today. I mean, stepping in these ropes. Yeah. And I remember we started practice out with that. He would always make me lead. I would make up different routines and guys get caught up. But what Lionel did and what I admired is he coached some great receivers before us. And when I got to LA, we had Ron Smith, myself, Freeman Johns, Billy Waddy, Dwight Scales, Ron Jesse, Willie Miller. God, who else? There was other guys too. And he found a way to coach each and every one of them. Lionel, what was your, I guess I'll call it an MO, and how you identified how you were going to approach each one of the different guys that played receiver?
I don't know, I really don't know. I just felt I'd say I can't do it my way.
Gotcha.
And said, okay, take you for instance. We're talking since you're here. What you did the best, I never tried to change you. You know that? Mm-hmm. If you ran this route, I didn't try to change you. I tried to find things that you couldn't do as well. Mm-hmm. And that's the way you work at it. And football, I thought practice was fun with us, was it?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it was fun.
We ran.
We competed.
Yeah,
that's how we got better.
I think sometimes I have to say we as coaches forget about the game, and the game has to be somewhat fun. That's one thing Max Speedy did at Denver. We'd be down there. I never forget. Practice is over, and we'd be way down the other end of the field and doing a little individual work. And Speedy would say, make a lot of noise. We wasn't doing nothing but moving my feet. And I did that. I remember that. And just the head coach was there. And Chuck Knox, I never forget, he said something. He says, Carol is coming. And Klosterman on Thursdays, you know.
Thursday.
He said, get into your coaching position. What are you talking about? Getting in your coaching position, I don't know if you can see it. You're like this. You're down there and you're pointing like you're really doing something. You ain't doing a damn thing. You're not even, and the guy said, listen, but you're doing all this. I said, I would never forget that because I said, it's a coaching position. What is, you know, I didn't know.
I'll never forget my rookie year training camp. You know, you go through your 2 practices, you eat dinner at the end of the day, you got a little relaxing time. Then you got your meetings. You got your 7-team meeting. Then you got your offensive units. And then we break down. Receivers go with the receivers and the quarterbacks themselves and all that. So Lionel, I'll never forget this. He had every one of us receivers in there. And he didn't just mess with rookies or free agents. He messed with everybody, vets and all that. And I remember the first night, we going over the old practice stuff, and we're going over plays, and Lionel stops the film. He says, okay, Willie Miller, get up on the screen. Tell me about so and such. What do you do in this coverage? And he would be right. Lionel, everybody that was right, he would talk them out of the right answer. And then when he do that, he'd say, that's why I'm not playing you, damn it. Because you don't believe in what you're doing. And I learned right there because I knew we were right. I said, no, that's right. That's right. No, he's not going to get me. And then he would pull that out like, oh, it ain't going to be me. Well, Lionel, you do stuff like that all the time.
I could see this.
Oh, man. You want to know, you want the guy that you really want him to believe in what he says because we go in that field. You know, he's got to believe in it. You know, to me, third and 13, and you tell him, and you're throwing from your 10-yard line, you got to have confidence to throw the ball. That's what I don't understand. They throw the ball, and they get down there, and they want to do something different. You went 80 yards, and you're down there, your best man, and what do? You bench him. You know, you don't give them the ball, no rest. You don't give them an opportunity. Yeah. See, okay, this is where I grade a receiver. Number 1, how many third down catches he make? You know why? It keeps the drive going. That's the important part.
Yep. Wow.
And if he wins, how many games he win? If he's given an opportunity. Now that's a big difference. You know, Preston could catch 80 passes and not give an opportunity. Once they get in the red zone, they don't do it. And that's the way I grade receivers. You know, on that. And Preston could run one play, got damn. In and out, boy, on the goal line, boy. We can motion do anything. It was all over. When he started down like that, I had good guys, Stallworth, Swan, Frank Lewis, was one of the best. But he was the quickest. He would come down and he could stop on time and go right back out. You know, I don't think what gets me. You see how many times it was 3rd and 4. This year, Minnesota was playing. It was 4th and 4, and they were in the game. And this guy came out of the backfield, ran a 3-yard route.
Uh-oh.
If Preston had did that, I'd have killed him. I'd have choked him.
Yep.
If he was dropped the ball at 5 or 6 yards, it wouldn't have bothered me. But he ran a 3-yard route and caught the ball.
Got to get your depth, baby.
Coaching 101.
Get that first down.
That's incredible.
That is.
And the Rams still run that route that you just described that Preston was so good at. They try. They try. Yeah.
Okay.
Cooper Kupp, you're on blast, buddy.
No smoke. Like he could run those ropes and stuff. Capoletti could run. You remember him?
John Capoletti, of course.
I could not believe he had some feet too. I remember that. But you can't make that kind of mistake. That's on me. Because I teach them right. I don't care if it's 3rd and 22. I wish Frank Lewis was here. It was 3rd and 22. We ran that post in press. You know, we used to run that post in everything off the press. And we run it about 15 to 18 yards. It was 3rd down. I said, Frank, you got to get 22. He ran it for 22 and Bradshaw. And that's football.
Wow.
Yeah. You have confidence. You say, you do this. Anytime we ran in and out, I wouldn't worry about Preston. If he didn't beat him, because the guard, the tight end comes out. They got an outside technique. He breaks inside. They got inside the technique, he breaks outside. But Preston is underneath. That's his territory. He comes down, takes him, and you got to take him so far. You can't just take a one step, because you do, the back hasn't reacted, and you run right back into him. And do you realize you beat the good backs easier than you beat a poor back? Because the poor back don't react when you come out of your break.
Yep.
Standing right there. You run over. The good was, boy, when you hit so far, they just like cats.
Yeah.
They own you.
Yeah, they own you.
Move them.
Lionel, you've coached Super Bowls, and what's for our fans, our listeners, just the everyday fan, what would you say is the highlight of coaching in a Super Bowl outside of playoffs and regular season?
Well,
You've done it with the Rams and the Steelers.
You killed me. You know why? Because I always says the Super Bowl was a snap. To getting there, the first 3 games, boy, now that's pressure. Once we got to the Super Bowl, it's over with. And and we had the Rams. I goofed. I goofed the first play of the game. I never remember. I had Billy White come in motion. Yeah. Donnie Shell fouled him. I know Donnie Shell couldn't cover him. Billy beats him, but Donnie Shell got past interference. Preston was open for a touchdown. And we went through the read like we usually supposed to do. But I was so sure that Donnie couldn't cover Billy White. So I got Vince Ferragamo look for Billy. Preston's running down the sideline. I remember that. I'll never forget that.
Oh yeah, I'm still open, by the way.
He's still open.
I'm still open.
I'm still kicking. And then I tell you now, Preston, I never told this to anybody. I kind of keep it to myself. Then we threw a play action pass, remember? And Lambert got it.
Yep.
And I always say, don't throw play action passes down there, because Vince was a great quarterback. He'd throw the ball anywhere, but with play action, he lose sight of the field, and he comes back. Now you're trying to find people again, and we threw the ball, hit him in the hand. I can't tell you what happened on that.
Well, we know.
I can't even watch that game, Coach. Full disclosure to everyone listening, I was 11 and I cried. I cried right then and there. And between Nolan's dropped interception, Preston getting knocked out of the game, Pat Thomas on a torn Achilles, and Jack Youngblood on a broken leg, that is an epic football game.
There's no way. Starwood made a great catch.
It's incredible.
But it shouldn't have never been there. That was hook and go. Hook and go. Chuck Noll called it.
Oh.
And he called it, boy. And our safety should have been there. Yep. He wasn't there. He wasn't there. Hey, Bud Carson he said, we got it. Next thing you know, Starwood went up like this.
And poor Rod Perry gets blamed for it in every photo throughout the stream of time. I know.
Yeah.
It's poor Rod.
I don't want to say anything.
Coach, I could talk for 4 hours with you. I'm ready to go run a route tree right now in the front yard. But I have to.
You're going to run a route?
You got me fired up. I probably get hurt.
Like when we ran the dashes. They tied me on the sundial.
Sundial.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that hurts.
I go get a glass of water and come back on speed running.
That was me. I got to ask you, Coach. You, between my friend and this show and Stallworth and Swan Hall of Famers and Frank Lewis, all these amazing names, is there a player that you coached or played with that we just don't talk about enough, in your opinion?
Frank Lewis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
I think he had more talent. Well, first Starwood, I'll tell you right now, he wanted to run routes like Frank Lewis.
Wow.
Frank could fly. Hey, Frank ran a 4.3. He says, I run a 4.2 if I want to. He could smoke it.
Wow.
And we just didn't throw the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Look, I had 4 All-Pros at the same time.
Ugh.
I had Stallworth, Swan, Ron Shankler, and Lewis.
God.
And then how you keep them happy? We never had an argument. I know one thing. We started as Shanklin and Frank Lewis the first quarter, Stallworth and Swan the second quarter. And I rotate the third quarter, go back to them. And Stallworth and Swan, even though they got wise to what I was doing, we didn't throw the ball in the fourth quarter because we always had a lead. And they came to me, and they says, how come we can't play? We don't have to play the fourth quarter. We never throw the ball. Those guys, your players don't miss things. Let me tell you right now, they don't miss things.
They don't miss.
You try to treat everybody the same. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You don't mean not to do it, but it just okay. I love this guy.
Yeah.
I try to coach him like I did everybody else. You know what I mean? I didn't try to pat him on the back and say, you're doing this, you're doing that. Frank Lewis, I love. You know, almost my guys, I had a great feeling for them because they didn't let me down. You know, like I tell you, I had the greatest job in football. Nobody had a better job than I did. I had good people, you know.
This is really special. Yeah. This is really special. My goodness. Two quick questions, and I know we've kept you a long time here tonight. Real quick.
Well, it's all right. We'll get a big check, right?
Yes, it'll come from Preston Denard.
We'll keep on talking then, as long as you get the big check.
Yeah, Preston Denard, New Mexico. Yeah.
See my hands down here? I'm writing it down.
I know the restaurant he loves. Okay.
So we'll make it easy. Okay.
Yeah, McDonald's. Okay.
No, we're gonna step up. Applebee's.
No happy meals for the coach here. Come on. So
take a picture down at Applebee's.
Yep.
I got to ask you. I tried to copy number 88 a lot when I was little, and ended up spraining my arm diving into a bunk bed. Did you teach him how to lay out the way he always was laying out?
Oh, yeah.
This guy.
He wanted the ball. Hey, Preston was greedy. He was greedy.
Oh.
He felt like it's my ball. And I never had to say, you short armed it, you didn't have the alligator arms, you didn't go in there. It's something else. Never tell somebody when you're on the field, you are a decoy. Right there, what are you doing? I'm a decoy. Hell, I'm no decoy.
Guys did that.
You read the defense. Well, that's what we taught. Read the defense. Now at the Rams. I think the leading receiver like 40-some catches or something, 30-some for this guy, 28 for this guy, because we read the defense and we throw the ball. Now I hear about, we got to throw the ball to so and so. Hey, get open, damn it.
Yeah.
You know?
Get open.
He'll find you.
He's getting fired up. Get open.
Would it be, I'm going to ask both of you this, would it be presumptuous of me because I'm picturing this in my head, that Lionel Taylor would find himself talking a little trash to Pat Thomas, Rod Perry, about his guys. We did one thing that most people don't do. Awesome. When we ran, I ran pressing them against their number ones all the time. I didn't want to run the number twos because they played against. Bud and Carson, I got along great. I wanted pressing them to run against the number ones, and that's what we had with the day. The defense going to show us what the other team do. Well, I want Pat Thomas and Rod Perry, them to do that, and Cromwell, because that's who we have to beat. We don't have to beat these other guys.
Yep.
And I always coached that way. I felt that way with the Steelers. I felt that way. And let me tell you something. When you're coaching, you can draw all the X's and O's in the world, but you got to get some technique.
Yep.
You got the guys know how to press the defense and do things. But I see guys come out and just running around. You have got to have it in your mind what I'm going to do. I'm going to set him up here. When I used to line up, it was 3rd and 13. I would look and see the 13 yards where I had to beat this guy within the 13. How many times you see a short route? That's because the receiver don't look and see where he's got to go. Yep. He'll go down in 11 yards and look great. Hell, defense says, great, get some more 11. I got the point now.
Unbelievable.
Wow, that is so cool.
I could go another hour, Preston, so you're going to have to cut me off. There's so much to talk about with Lionel Taylor that it's overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
So,
well, we got to get him to that 2-minute drill.
Okay, here we go.
You know, We're into that bedtime hour now. So.
Needs his beauty sleep.
Well, Lionel, this is the part where we test your mental capacity and quickness and your love of one or the other. So it's either or. If you need a little second to think about it before you give out that great answer, you're more than welcome to do it. But it is a good one. And if you're ready, my friend, we are ready to go. I got to say one thing. The one thing I did learn from Lionel that is, I think, the toughest thing for any young guy coming up to do. I never had to do this in college, and I had to learn it in the pros. Something called sight adjustment, where you had a silent responsibility of the guy inside you or over top that would probably blitz. And without a call, you had to adjust your route in order to save the play so the quarterback doesn't get sacked. And I never missed a one. I can't recall ever being told you missed that blitz or you missed that. So that's one of the great prizes I took away from the game. Thank you for that.
Can I say one thing?
Of course.
You got to see when you're coaching, your receivers has got to see what the quarterback see. If he sees what the quarterback see, he should get open.
Yep.
Just don't run out there. You can only see half of the field now. Don't get me wrong. Somebody said, well, we can't see. I can't see what's going on over there. But if he sees the quarterback see the blitz, the quarterback sees this, you on the same page.
Same page.
And your chance of completing the ball is a heck of a lot better than the guy just coming out there lining up.
Yep. That's true. That's true. All right, here we go, my friend.
So
2-minute
cool.
drill. You ready?
No.
All right. Either or. Wide receivers or tight ends? And that's based on coaching.
Wide receiver.
I knew you'd say that. Good answer. New Mexico or Missouri?
New Mexico.
Oh.
All right, you ready? I didn't have this on here, but I have to ask you this. Red or green?
Green.
See, there somebody else
New
knows about
Mexico
this.
guys
Really,
are
baby.
just
All right, your favorite movie, Coach? You got one?
My favorite movie would be Clint Eastwood and Josie Wales Outlaw Josie Wales.
Okay.
classic.
All right, here's a tough one, but for you, it ain't tough. Is
Don't
there
ask
a
me.
favorite? I'm gonna ask you. I'm subjected to this one. Your favorite coached wide receiver?
Max Speedy.
Max Speedy. Okay. All right. Real quick.
Very cool.
Why?
Because he coached me, he let me do things. He taught me. In other words, he put himself in there with you.
Yeah.
You know, he was like a. It wasn't like a coach. He was good. He knew what he was doing, and he just put himself in there, put his arms around you, and things like that. You know.
Okay.
And I never forget we beat Buffalo, and we were leaving the field that night about 11 o'clock. He had a few scotches, and he put his arms around Alfred and I and says, "You guys won the game. We didn't win the game." Oh, here's something I did too, real quick, and I'll leave you alone. I always told the receivers that when things are going bad, we can win the game if they give us the ball. We will win the game.
Yeah.
Nothing's
I
going
love
right.
that.
And I say, hey, fellas, we can win the game. Put it on our shoulders, and we'll pull the wagon.
I
I
love
felt
that.
way.
Stacy, would you want him as your coach?
I'm ready to run a route tree right now. I can barely walk, so.
All right, here's the next
Don't
one.
feel bad.
Don't
You got
feel
my
bad.
speed going there.
Your most underrated teammate at any level.
Frank Lewis.
Okay, there you go.
Very cool.
Your greatest football achievement. You've had many. What's your greatest that you feel?
I don't have one. I'm sorry to say I don't
Well,
have
you got
one.
so many.
So
It would be
many.
tough.
Yeah, I really don't. You know, I don't know. I never looked at things like that too much. You know, I can tell you every pass I dropped. I can tell
Well,
you every
I
pass I
could
dropped.
too. I could too.
I dropped one on the 3-yard line against Houston. I dropped the comeback against San Diego on the left side. Came back, next play, a hook in the gut, and I dropped it. The third down, I made a diving catch for the first down. I can play my whole career.
That is wild.
All right, I am going to tell you what could be your greatest achievement, and that is the folks you coached and how you turned them out to be stars. That is one achievement. Every one of those guys you've had as tutoring can commend to that. So thank you for that. All right, here's the last one, Coach. You ready?
Okay.
Drum roll. Who plays you in a movie about your life?
I don't have nobody that slow. The movie be, you know, anybody that slow. The game will never end. It's the longest game in the history of football.
Oh my God! No, that ain't true. That's got to be somebody. I'm gonna have to think of it. See, I didn't do a pre-thought on that one, but I wanted to hear what Coach was gonna say. Well, you know what? Nobody could do it. You'd have to play yourself. Nobody can do it but you. Coach, I want to say thank you. This has been wonderful. You and I have done a ton of different interviews, but I couldn't wait to do this and introduce you to Stacy. You've been. Wait, hold on. I've never said this before to you, but I'm saying it in front of my friend. Nobody else is listening, by the way. But Lionel, if it hadn't have been for you that noticed me in those first few days of my free agency, I wouldn't have had an 8-year NFL outstanding career. Thank you.
I tell you, it was easy to notice you. That was. I'm serious. Very easy. Once you went through those ropes, I knew right there, and I said, I better start coaching. So I didn't know anything about him. He's a free agent, come out of New Mexico. I had no idea. And he's got, who's Bernard? Bernard. That's okay. Okay. About 2 days later, we put the ropes up. He went through the ropes. I never forget. I said, better start coaching.
Wow.
Start coaching.
That is so cool.
Take it away, Stace.
Okay, Coach.
I'm good.
Coach, this is I mean, I gotta usually gets by on the charisma and good looks. Now I'm learning he's got feet. Wow, Coach. This has just been an absolute pleasure, and I know that we'll get a lot of feedback from the listeners and watchers as well. A huge thanks to the iconic Lionel Taylor, both as a player, coach, and as a man and friend, as I've seen in this show. And big thanks to grandson sitting off there too, listening in. Want to thank the Taylor family.
Come on, stick your head in there, LT, and say bye, man.
Get famous. Get famous.
It is right here.
Jeez, he looks like he's ready to play. Good Lord.
Should have been a tight end.
He got size. Let me tell you.
I was going to say, he's tore up. He looks like he's ready to play ball now. Fantastic, Coach. A huge thank you to you, and we'd love to have you back. And please do give me a call if Preston doesn't send that check or get you that Happy Meal.
Your chances of getting me back is slim if Preston's going to pay me.
Okay. Okay. I can't vouch for him anymore. Okay. There it is. One-handing it way before Odell Beckham. Look at that shot. Look at that shot. Huge thanks, folks. Please listen in, and a big thank you for joining Preston and I on what is a very special episode of Gridiron Icon. Oh, we got some wisdom.
Like this? Yep. Over the guy?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He likes the photo.
Wait. That ain't the one I want to give him.
Oh.
I got him. I was in my office in Houston, and the guy came in. I had to catch in there, and he's a linebacker for Houston Oilers. He said, "You know who that is?" I said, "No, that's me. That you were going over top of, coming across the middle."
That is so fun. Look at the traffic, too. Look at the traffic. Okay. Well, again, folks, listen in, watch on YouTube. A big thanks to the Ring of Honor and Hall of Famer in our book. Didn't even get into that conversation, but the great Lionel Taylor. A big thanks. Follow us on all the major platforms, and we will see you next week, Preston and I, and I will then confirm whether he's bought Lionel that dinner or not. We will see you again soon. Thanks, Coach.
You can come back anytime.